evening, everyone. This is the Town of Sheldon Selectboard and Water Commission regular meeting. Monday, March 23rd of 2026, held here at the town office. Agenda for this evening, under new business, we got a highway report, got a building security review, town administrator's report. Need to sign and approve the minutes of the March 9th meeting. Need to sign and approve warrant 2606 for payroll. Warrant 726 accounts payable. Got liquor license for the Abbey. Yeah. Excess weight permits to sign. Under old business, we've got the recreational fields backstops, quotes for replacement. Got the procurement policy and the personnel policy. Is there anything else we need to add?
We did get one additional fleet permit today for Barron Trucking, so on the list. And then, one appointment that we missed at the last meeting, because I wasn't aware of exactly when it needed to be filled, is the town health officer. That expires at the end of this month. And I didn't realize that was coming up so close.
Okay.
One thing that we tabled from the last meeting was the Transportation Advisory Committee appointment that's the NRPC has a committee on local roads, and we can discuss with, I've talked to Hunter about possibly having him fill that, and if he can't make it, if he can't make it, I would act as an alternate to that.
Okay.
I think that's it.
All right. We'll jump right into the building security stuff.
Yeah, well, Jeremy, sure, you wanna?
I sent a few quotes, we walked through this building, the town hall, I've already gone through the museum, and we did the wastewater plant and walked through those. There's an existing wireless system here that is through Brinks, I think immediately. There's a quote in there to replace that one, I believe. And then we looked at new possible camera systems for this building, town garage, and I don't know if I did the actual wastewater plant. I didn't think you guys needed 100 estimates to look at. I mean, you can just look at it and figure out what we're gonna do different.
Okay.
They're all separate. The intrusion that's at each of these is all operational. He said the sensors are just pretty much at end of life where they're going through batteries nonstop. That's a pretty simple swap. They have the same system, I guess, at the town garage and at
The fire department.
All these would basically tie together a little better. So it'd be one interface on your computer. You add one person in at one place, you can add them to all of them at the same time. Obviously it's new, so it's all app on your phone. You can see what's going on. It logs who's going in and out and what time. And if there's events, I use home security monitoring out of Stowe. They would call here, and if nobody answers, they're gonna call the police, but it would also set up a call list on your phone. So it's gonna send you a notification immediately, probably before they even do the phone call. So that's all real-time stuff. The camera systems, we weren't really sure what the town wanted or needed. Put some preliminary stuff together. Unfortunately, we ran into like security issues with a lot of the government stuff. That's how we ended up with the recorder on there. That's a little bit more money. And that recorder has an annual fee for each camera. But that one there, it's all what they call internet-based. So everybody has a separate login with emails and passwords that way. And that's really the only secure one out there that does it that way, and that's how come we end up with that platform most of the time. There is other stuff that is less expensive, but it uses more of a, let me say Chinese type brand app where you're doing sharing through it, and it's hard to control your users that way. That's why most government places aren't doing that type of recorder. There is an addition on there for doors. All of the security systems that we would be using can add access control through doors. And I did that as separate, it doesn't have to be done when it goes in, it could always be done, but there was some concern about, you know, who has keys to different stuff. Basically, the access control eliminates keys. You control access through cards or phones, and you take away access when it's not needed anymore. And obviously, it's really convenient to not give out a key. If all these places have access control, you give one card to somebody, and this person needs access at these buildings, and they instantly have access. Again, I did it on there separate. Not sure if it's something that you really need, but it would certainly be a convenience if you can get it there.
We didn't get a quote for most of the other doors it'd be like an electronic lock system, so you'd have to, that would be a matter of just drilling into the door and installing the lock, but these doors here would need a magnetic lock.
These would end up being a mag lock. They don't have a strike with the vertical rod that can release the top of them, so we'd end up having to do magnets on these, which is a little bit more money. They're just as efficient, it's just more labor and more parts, that's all. There was some talk about how this one would operate, whether it should be on the inside door or the outside door, about possibly leaving the outside one unlocked or on schedule where it stays open sometimes, but they can't get into the inner door. I mean, again, that's something that the board would have to decide on, but any of that stuff's possible.
Okay.
The system that we would put in would be possible, any of that, schedules. You can have up to 8 doors per one of those small panels, so it's not a full-on access control system where you're gonna have badges and pictures and all of that stuff, but it's pretty secure. That's it. I mean, if you have any questions.
I figured it was easier to ask Jeremy here rather than having me remember all the
Yeah,
different
no.
things. Yeah,
Thanks for coming in.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't something that you're jumping on. I had gone to the museum to look at that, and it was saying to kind of go through the rest of the stuff so it all works together. And there are some other locations that don't have internet, and we kind of talked about how we could get that stuff done. The intrusion stuff also does the environmental stuff. For instance, down at the wastewater plant, if it gets cold in there, or if there's something broken, there's water in there, it also reports on that. Same thing here, make sure we had a water break detector in here where the furnace is, or low heat, if something were to go down, it reports. You guys don't have that stuff now. We added it on, the sensors are, $40, but it saves a big headache if something were to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Theoretically, there are some sensors down there that, there's a light on the outside of the sewer plant that if that something goes down, that light's supposed to come on and somebody over the mill is supposed to call us, but we could hook that into this system as well,
Yeah.
or things like that. If a pump failed at the water plant, you could get an electronic notification of that.
The camera stuff, we had looked at putting one recorder here and trying to send the cameras from the other stations to this recorder, which is possible. We have to get in touch with your IT guy to make sure we have the bandwidth and stuff to do that. But if you didn't do that, we'd have to put a smaller recorder here and a couple others at the other locations, which is gonna bring the cost up a little bit, but there's no sense not trying it this way first, right?
Yeah.
You don't spend money if you don't have to.
Right. Yeah.
And we could reuse some of the cameras that are at the fire station. We wouldn't have to necessarily replace those. We just hook them up to the recorder that we have. And we could continue to use the video feed from those. And, same thing with, I think the Historical Society has already purchased some cameras, and we wouldn't necessarily have to replace
Yeah,
them.
those locations, we would probably put a recorder in there, because those are all analog cameras, so we wouldn't be able to port those across you'd end up with $1,000 part to get those over the internet, and that's not really worth it. So we'd end up just adding a recorder to the fire station and the museum. What they have, we're gonna get in now anyway, so it's operational. So that's something that can be done down the road.
Okay.
They've already purchased something, we're not gonna throw it away, just put in the same thing.
So your system has the same type of window sensors or?
Yeah,
is it,
these right now don't have sensors on them, we're relying on the motion detector. The one we're gonna put in would be a little bit more commercial, so it's gonna have the bigger batteries in it, not the little watch batteries. I'm sure the one on the front door you change a lot, because
Yeah.
basically they send a signal every time you open and close the door. That little watch battery is not designed for that, so I'm sure you change that one every few months. We put in, commercial sensors.
Yeah. But the, for comparison, right now, I think at each location, we are paying around $70 a month for this, so on the alarm system, I think we could potentially save some money.
Take my bolts back
Yeah,
and just
right,
change
yeah,
out
yeah.
one line.
Yeah, so, and this is obviously one quote we're looking at, we could,
So I'm
Yeah.
about half of that then.
Any questions?
Yeah, I don't have any questions.
So, in theory, if we wanted to, you said the security system, the environmental sensors and the security system, if we wanted to move on that, we could get started relatively soon if we wanted to, but the cameras might take a little longer. Right, is that right?
Well, yeah, I mean, the IDS is, that's a half a day job to install. Cameras obviously involve running cable. We don't do wireless cameras, we put in cables. And, there's infrastructure to that. The IDS, or the burglar alarm is an IDS, intrusion system. That one they have is wireless, and we would just put a wireless back in. It's not worth spending the money on wires. The batteries now last 2 years, so it's not that big a deal. I put in wireless ones all day for the government everywhere, so if they're using it, should be fine. They do like wasting money, but, yeah, cameras, by the time you decide, we have to schedule that out, that's a few day project.
The other thing we did discuss was, the possibility, not just of having cameras on the exterior of the building, but having one or two pointed at the street so we could get some passive traffic, fixed signals, and we could in theory share, one or two of those traffic feeds directly with our law enforcement if we wanted to.
The way that was recorder set up, that is designed for that, so you give the police a login, you choose which cameras they can see, and obviously that's all they can control or do with the system, there's nothing else they can get to. It's actually pretty common now. That one there, even if you pull clips, you can send just that portion of the clip, and that's all they can see through their email. It's pretty common practice now. Every day that goes by, there's just more cameras, more cameras, more cameras.
Yeah.
These have the AI platform where you can search by car, color, person. I didn't put on there like any license plate stuff, but I don't think you guys are really, I don't think there's any point for that.
Yeah.
But the other reason, Hunter talked about this before, that, if we had, the other reason to have them on the street is so that he can, in the winter time, he gets up at 3 a.m, he can see what's going on down at the mill, what's going on here. And, in front of the garage, I know there's only certain places where we could see them, but in the future, if we wanted to, we could add other cameras to the system at other places, in town, if it helps with the, if we had a camera on the Kane Road to know if the snow was blowing over it or something like that, that would, could make the difference between taking a drive or not, so.
Yeah.
There's I think besides the obvious security features, there's some other benefits to doing some of these things.
I think for this building, I had 360-degree coverage on the outside, one camera that looked at the intersection over here, and I think we had one in the main office looking at the desk where they would come up and service somebody.
Yeah, we thought that might be a good feature, just in case there's ever some dispute about something happening in the town clerk's office.
For sure.
You can never be too careful.
Yeah. I guess we'll have to discuss this and,
But yeah, I'm sorry, Jeremy, I didn't get around to contacting, my next call was to Matt to see if there was, how much we can use the existing firewall to, if we could just have one black box that that most of the campers were feeding to, that would, well, A, would save us money, but also if the town garage went up in flames, well, we'd be able to have video of it in the black box here at the town clerk's office, and we'd be able to see what was going on, at least until the cameras kicked out, so, anyway, I'd like to see if we could use our existing firewall or some upgrade here and do that to save us some money.
yeah. Okay,
That's it. Do you guys have any more questions for me?
No, I think this is,
not yet, I guess.
Fine, yeah, I guess we'll decide what we're gonna do. Yeah.
What do you think you would do though, wiring down
As soon
there?
as it gets warm out.
And you call me, I can help. We'll work.
Yeah, we'll do that. As soon as I don't have to balance on an extension ladder in the snowbank, I'll get it done. All right, guys.
Yeah,
thank you.
thank you. Alright. Hunter, what you got for us tonight?
Everybody on?
Good.
Start off, I had another contractor come up and look at the Swamp Road project, and he did 2 quotes on that as well, like did you did.
Yeah.
He gave us 1 quote more or less of him doing pretty much the whole project. And then he gave us a cheaper one of us doing a good amount of the work, and including like us paying for the stone up front and hauling it in ourselves and having our grader and loader on site, and that was noticeably cheaper. But with that project as well, like I know like Seth plows down that way, and there hasn't been many issues for him this year at all to speak of. So I don't know if that's like more of a project that rather than, spending 30,000 or, 17,000, that would just peck away at it over the years with bringing fill up there and bringing stone up there and just gradually spread out the road and cut trees down as we can. It would save us money rather than just contracting it out and having it, done in a week. We could do it in 3 years maybe and
Yeah.
widen it out ourselves, but that was with Cody Jetty doing the work.
Yeah. Is there 2 culverts down through there or 1?
There's only one at the end of the road. I actually printed it out just in case some people haven't been down there. I guess I don't have it. There's the big culvert at the end that holds back the beaver pond.
Yes.
That's the only one that crosses the road. But there's there's at least 3 driveway culverts, and all those would need to be just dug up and reset further back if we were to, because where the culverts are now would be pretty much where like the new, when we widen out, that's where the material would be.
Yeah.
So we just have to push them back 10 feet and then reestablish the ditch line. But a lot of that if you look at the fields down there, they kind of slope the other way away from the road. So really, if we started putting fill in there, I don't think we'd ever have to worry about it, like flooding the road if it came to it. I think we could do it over time and do the ditching once we're all said and done and move those culverts when it's all done.
Okay.
But just an option.
I'm just looking at the inventory here, I guess there's a 24-inch culvert right by the turnaround, the existing.
Yeah, that's before where we would be riding. I thought I
That's
could have
the
shown
only
the front of the
Besides
guys.
yeah.
Oh yeah, I did. Those are like the 3 driveway culverts. St. Pierre put a house in here, and there's a house here now too.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he's doing a house here, but he's got something dug up out here. So this is the actual last house on Swamp Road before you get down into like Churchill's driveway. And
Yeah.
it would pretty much have to be widened out from all the way at that last house all the way down to Pete's to really do it. So you're filling in this entire ditch line as well as taking out all those trees and then resetting the 1, 2, and 3 culvert, and then probably redoing this beaver culvert too, or the beaver dam culvert. So it could end up being quite a bit before it's all said and done.
Yeah.
So I think if we try to do it in stages, we might be a little bit better off. But
Does that section of road there, does that section of road ever, I mean, is it muddy this time of year? Or any
yeah,
other dirt road?
Swamp Road's probably one of the roads that gets the softest once the frost pulls up.
But it works back here before Mrs. Race's driveway.
Yeah, it's
That shaded in there.
yeah,
That's the worst part of the road.
yeah, and I think that's why it's so bad. It's because all those trees are so tall around there.
Actually, this section here is solid. That's
By the old turn or by the turnaround.
after the turnaround.
Yeah.
Down through.
Yeah.
Before Tony's driveway, that's good and solid, but it's not very wide.
No.
That's,
And the only thing that like, if we were to do something like even this year, if we're gonna keep plowing it, there's a bit of a, after that house, there's a bit of a knoll. The only thing like I was telling you is maybe knock that hill down just so if there's cars coming, they can see the plow truck coming and they can pull off. But like that, I don't think Seth had any problems down there. He was able to maneuver the turnaround just fine, so I think it ended up being okay.
yeah.
I did get a quote on a new man door for the front of the building. It wasn't too bad. It's a little bit expensive, but that was like this is $880 for a new door, for a new metal door for the front of the building. We were able to save on the garage doors. We went with a different company rather than Champlain Doors. This is 802 Garage Doors. The guy worked for Champlain Doors for a long time. He's been on his own for a few years, but we saved it. It's going to be like between $700 and $1,000. It comes with all these same warranties on the doors and electrical and his work. So I had him scheduled to come up and change those doors. It was going to be like 5 weeks from now till we can get them in. But
Yeah.
I figure if we can save the money there, then maybe we can spend it on the door, depending on how much money is left in the budget after we do these doors. But we'll see come time. We had to do a emergency culvert repair on Catella Road. P.E.G had called and said that the road was starting to cave in, so I went up and looked at it, and the road was like half washed out, and really the frost was the only thing holding up the road. So we dug it up and threw in 2 new culverts right there, or 2 new sections of culvert. So now pretty much from like the East Sheldon way all the way back towards like Riley Road is all new culverts through there. So that road's gonna be in good shape for a while now. We obviously posted all the roads. That included putting the frost heave signs out, and we filled in some of the frost heaves around town, some of the worst ones. We did some cold patching. What's that?
How's pavement look this spring?
It's, how's the pavement looking? It's alright. I mean, there's a lot of frost heaves right now and they've been bad since like we had that thaw in December, so it's been a pretty rough end of the winter.
Yeah.
We did a service on the grader change the oil and all the filters and everything, so that's good to go. It's running good, and we got a couple more things to do on the lights and the flashing lights and stuff. I'd like to get those working just in case you're out on a cloudy day or something, people can see a little bit better. We did fix up the backhoe broom the best we could with stuff we had around. We kind of made a new shield for it. We had to weld like the motors back onto it. It was all inexpensive. Had to put a new coil and solenoid on that, but with what we did, hopefully we can get a couple more years out of it. We did it with mainly just stuff that we had around the shop, so we saved quite a bit of money trying to do that. I did order a new bristle set for it, so we'll finish off the ones on there and we'll have to switch it over once. After a couple of uses, the one that's on there will probably be no good. The trucks are going pretty good. We had to, on Saturday, we had to replace a PTO shaft and exhaust clamp on the 18. The exhaust clamp just rotted off, and luckily we had one on the shelf there, so we fought with that and got that back together. The 15 blew a little hose going to the turbo. We fixed that today. So after that, all the trucks are running good and in good shape. We had to replace a bay window in the shop that got broken. We got it fixed last month, so I guess it broke the month before. But just for one window was like over $1,400, so that was quite a bit just for one bay window. But that was the cheapest one I could get. Portland glass did it. Had to get a new cutting edge for the loader. When we bought that loader, they said that they were gonna give us one, and I've called them probably 3 or 4 different times over the winter, and they've kind of just said they'll get back to me and never have. And that cutting edge is starting to wear into the bucket, so it wasn't really worth still waiting for them. So, we got to get another new brine pump. Those are free because of how much liquid we buy anyway, but I don't know what the deal is with that, but we've gone through like 3 or 4 of them this year. They're having where we get them from is having problems with their suppliers, so they're trying out new pumps and they obviously aren't working, so.
The one you used to load the truck tank?
Yeah, it's just an electrical pump, and in theory you just pull up to it, hook everything up, flip a switch, and it's supposed to fill up in like 2 minutes, but we keep blowing like seals and stuff in them, and they finally said that we're not the only people having problems, so they switched to the pump that they were sending us, which seems to work a little bit better now. We did an oil change and service on the lawnmowers too to get those all set up. It's a little bit early, but we had time, so we got that done. We ended up returning over $1,000 worth of filters that were no longer needed. They either bought on accident or bought for trucks that we no longer have. So we got quite a bit of credit to go towards filters when we do our oil changes next. I also canceled the pager service. I honestly don't even know where that pager is. So we've never used it since I've been around, and I figured we're just kind of throwing our money away with it at this point. Matt and I are obviously in the fire department. If something comes up, we know of it anyway.
Okay.
And then I got in touch with Vermont Gas. They're gonna come and dig and fix that leak at the fire station with that valve that's down there that leaks. They didn't really quite have a time frame, but pretty much said when the asphalt plant opens up, they're gonna get over there and dig it up, and then they'll repave it when they're done. The price of stone obviously went up about $1. $1 a ton, so it's gonna be like $25 more load, which isn't terrible, but as far as the sewer project, do we know when that's gonna start?
They talked to him. I talked to him a couple of weeks ago, and they were just getting in touch with the aggregate suppliers and all that. I haven't got a hard date on when they're getting started.
Is there like sooner rather than later, like beginning of summer or in middle of summer?
Yeah, I think they were gearing up to start, not in the fall, but sooner than that, yeah. So I can call them back.
Well, the only thing I'm curious is if we need to get anything like such as a vac truck, or if they're, traffic control, or if we gotta be paving after,
Right.
a pump truck or anything. I just wanna know what we have to, so I can get it lined up if we need to.
Yeah, okay.
So there's nothing that I recall that the town's responsible for in that, is there? I mean, like, they're not expecting a road
Other
to,
than, I think,
maybe.
yeah, other than like flagging or something possibly, but they should supply that as well. I can clarify if there's anything like that, but they should pave it, certainly that, after they've done the trench, they're supposed to pave.
Well, right, but I was just curious if there's a piece of work that the town has to do versus,
The only thing we did discuss, and I haven't, is, I told them to call the mill among their other calls, just to see, I told them the mill would need notice of when,
Yeah,
if they have a schedule, they need to let the mill know so that they can, make that as,
Right, for their
as
trucks.
simple as possible for them, but also I said, the one thing we had discussed was the possibility of the town, on the far side of Mill Street where it exits by the cemetery, possibly, if we could throw down a couple loads of gravel out there to allow the trucks to turn off
Back
105 that way.
they're room enough, there's no pole or anything.
There's no pole there. You'd have to go back quite a bit probably for the 18. I mean, they try to make that turn anyway. So
Yeah, I know.
really, they probably will be fine. with a
Try.
couple.
Right, but I was just saying, if we threw some gravel down there for temporary,
Yeah.
make it a little easier.
There's no pole. There's like,
Yeah,
That is something we talked about possibly doing. I don't know if the state would be happy with us.
well,
but
they don't
whatever,
wanna call it stay.
Yeah, right.
Just say, hey, we need a temporary
Right.
exit there for the mill.
So anyway, I haven't heard from them in a couple weeks, so I can call them and see what their schedule is looking like, but,
who was it, Island? Was it Island?
it's, sorry.
Isaac's Excavation?
Excavation out of, West Charleston. Just doing it, so anyway, last time they called me, they were seeing who the town used for aggregate and trying to get a hold of them and set up accounts there, and I told them to call the mill, too, just cause they should have that on their radar, yeah.
Were they gonna try to address some of the drainage on the side of the road at the same time, or no?
I think we're gonna try to put that into we're trying to get for the structure grant this year for the class 2. I thought we would try to do that ourselves, cause it's mostly that one, well, besides the, whatever's going on under the fire department parking lot, specifically it's that, undersized, one on the corner.
Right.
Yeah, and we would if we were gonna get that grant, I think we would know by July, so,
So who's putting in for, or is it open now or no? To apply for that grant?
right, yeah, the grants are open until April 15th or something, second week of April, I think. And I'm trying to schedule a meeting with District 8 to go over those with them beforehand, so, and usually they're very helpful, they help us to figure out what we need to do on those, so, I don't know if we could, I suppose we could add another, the only other place I thought we might need another catch basin would be up, maybe closer to Boarding House Street, I don't know, if there's not really anything up there, but it's hard to tell where all that water comes from, but.
Yeah, I think a lot of it just runs down the road, really,
Right, yeah.
and then catches where it catches.
Mhm. So
well, everything right there is it's all sloped right to Mill Street. Everything from the fire station and everything.
Right.
but if that, the catch basin on the corner was proper size, then more of it would go into the ditch like it's supposed to. Wouldn't stay out in that intersection,
Right.
so.
Comment on the turn at High Street. When the trucks turn there, they can turn in there, I see one do it one day. About the middle of summer, they're gonna tear that blacktop up, and they're gonna tear the 105 up. Cause it pivots, just on the wheel. Well, they can turn it, but it just makes a pivot, and they'll rip that blacktop right. And it'd be on 105 too, cause it'd be coming
Right.
both ways.
Wow. we'd be trying to avoid that altogether, but it was a sort of, if there's a day that we can't, that the mill really has to have trucks going down there, and especially if we were, especially when we get down to the intersection itself and working in that Shawville Road intersection, that's where I think it'll be difficult to maintain the traffic going down Mill Street, and there might need to be a different way to get into the mill, that's all. And so I'm hoping we would, if we did anything like that, it would be limited to like, one day, but.
So are they going from the post office, like right in front of the post office, all the way down to the Four Corners?
Correct, yeah, that's the
Okay.
area. And in theory, they're supposed to try to maintain one lane all the way down there, but when they get into the intersection, that's gonna be hard to do, cause the sewer goes diagonally across, to where the manhole is in front of the church, so,
Yeah, but if you can get the upper part of
right, yeah.
buried back up so the trucks can go there and they can pull.
Right.
They can schedule and pull enough trailers up there by the fire station to, they don't need to come out of the mill for a day, I would think.
Right, the critical thing is for them to just coordinate with the mill and tell them what their schedule is, and then the mill can make it easier, I think.
They've got 3 or 4 different places they park trailers, so they ought to be able to, work around that. They can move some,
Right.
other places for a day or two, hopefully, without being too upset.
And to say it's one-way traffic, it's one-way traffic with cars, and one-way traffic for the tractor trailer is 2 different things.
Well, track trailers and they're wider than cars, so,
And they're not just wider, they're gonna be a lot heavier.
well, heavier, yeah, I know that, but.
Well, I think they're aware of what's going on in the project area, so.
Yeah.
Something that
But
they're supposed to be.
Be able to get that
Anyway, sorry,
sorted
that
out.
wasn't, but I can certainly, try to get back in touch with them, see what the schedule.
yeah, you
is.
should get that lined up, so.
Yeah, I just figure
these
if
guys
it's,
know ahead of time
if
what's
we do
going
need
on.
to do something, even if it's traffic control, we gotta make sure we're all kind of here. If somebody wants to go on vacation or something, just so we know what time frame. Anyway, as far as upcoming projects, we do gotta come up with, what we wanna pave. I have a few places kind of in mind. But all those guys have kind of been stopping by and asking what we've been planning on doing, and, I haven't given them a definite list, but, probably before my next meeting, I'll have to have a better idea as to what needs to be done. Or what's priority anyway. And then the other things we gotta do is, hopefully once the snow stops at some point here, we'll have to change the oil on the loader and the 2 tandems. We got some welding on the 21 and the 15 we need to do. I think the alternator bearings are going in the 18. I don't think that'll be a super big project, but it's something that probably should be addressed. We can probably pull it out and bring it somewhere and they can fix it and we can put it back on the truck, but need to do another sign order. There's a lot of signs missing around town. We replaced a few when we had the nicer weather, but we got more road signs we need to order. Obviously once this weather gets up, we'll start grading the roads and hauling stone to where it needs to go. We'll start the sweeping process as soon as we can. Down at the park, I'd like to, this will probably be more in the summer, but I was just thinking of it, if we're gonna do the parade this year, I'd like to clean that park up a little bit more. Cut some of the trees and brush back off the fences, and some of those benches really need to be ripped out and either replace a couple of them or one of them, or put a bench in there or something, or a picnic table. Then obviously, we'll have some plow damage to fix up around town. There's a couple of small water projects with valves and curb stops and blow offs that we need to dig and fix. Lights at the town clerk, I've been asked by one of our residents if we can put some lights here, one on the back of the building and redo the amber colored ones in the front with a brighter light. I don't know what we wanna spend for that, but.
And we
lights
talked
are-
about that at the last meeting, is that there is a light on the front of the building, and there's like a security light there that hasn't worked for some time, so. Matt kinda got us a quote for a couple of light bulbs that would be $100 each or something like that to replace those. I'm not sure if we necessarily wanna replace all the cam lights along the front of the building or not. I think 2 security lights that came on at dusk would probably solve most of the problems with the parking lot being dark.
Yeah, even just one where the one is.
Right, and then we just get a darker one, a brighter light for this back entrance. I think that would solve most of the issues, so. Matt kinda, looked at different things, he has a thing that he would recommend us put in, but they obviously have a lot of stuff to do, so I thought we might just have to contract that out.
It would probably be the best thing to do, really, just because there's wiring involved and,
Yeah,
doing it on the salt shed's not a big deal, but doing it at the town clerk's, I don't know if that's the best idea for us to do.
Any thoughts or ideas on Bedard?
Yeah, that's in my printout here. These were just, I was trying to brainstorm some projects for the summer. That was one of them, nothing too fancy. I think if we knock down some of the trees right at the end of like your 2 neighbors' driveways and go up, I think we'll start with that, and I think that'll be a good start for there. That'd be an easy project to do. There's another turnaround on High Street at the end of it that I wanna do. It's all the way down at the end, at the last house. I'd have to talk to this person and see, but it's really hard to turn a tandem around right there. There's no room to do it, so I pretty much have to drive on their, put my front tires on their lawn and then back up over here and hope they don't, aren't parked there. But I'd like to put a turnaround so I can at least pull in and have more room to maneuver to get out.
Is that the person that leaves trash cans in the middle of the road there? too?
No, that is, that's on School Street.
Oh, okay,
This is
sorry.
on High
You
Street.
said High Street. I was thinking School Street.
No, these people actually bought the house last year, so I've never seen them do anything over here, so, obviously in the summertime, it's an extra parking space for them. If they might say no, I don't know, I gotta kind of stop and talk to them one day. There is a culvert on East Sheldon Road. It's more this way, from like Archambault's house. There's a hole starting in it on that side of the road. And it goes into like a retention, it goes to the side of the retention pond, but obviously the water filter's in there. But I think we need to look into replacing that before that road washes out too, because we've been putting asphalt in there, but, that's only gonna last so long. But those were just a few small projects, and then, there's another ditching job in shouldering on Duffy Hill. That's like right by, Dennis Paradis' mother's house. There's a spring that comes out right here. You can actually see that the ditch is flooded in this picture. But this makes this part of the road really soft when you first pull on. So I talked to Dennis and we can pull that tree out and we'll reestablish a ditch down through here. He said at one point there was a culvert that shot across the road here, but the farmer on this side ripped the culvert out, and it was never replaced after that. That would be the ideal thing, is put another culvert across, but we can probably, it's ledge in here, but I think we can probably get a ditch to go through there. And then this one's also on East Sheldon Road, it's right by Archambault's. That's his house and his farm. This culvert would be down in here, but this all needs to be ditched out. And then I figure if we were doing this, we can jump over and do this culvert, if we end up doing it. But those were just some summer projects that I had in mind, all fairly inexpensive.
What do you guys end up doing for a turnaround down there in Cook Road?
Cook Road, we moved it to Sampson Road. That's like a little development down right after
yeah, where
the
Tim
culvert.
had those houses.
Yeah.
Or Tim Reed, excuse me, yeah.
Yeah, that's worked out great for us. There's it's a lot better. It's really safer than the old one we had because that old one was kind of on the corner and people kind of fly around it. So this one seems, Highgate seems to like it, and obviously we like it. So it seemed to work out for both of us. But other than that, that's all I had for you guys.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Tucker, wait a minute, question on the swamp road. Do you get more than just one estimate, or are you just gonna go with one estimate?
That was my second one.
That's the second one we've got there.
And I actually had 3. I had another guy, but he wasn't interested in that.
Thank you, Hunter.
Alright. What do you know?
Justin and I have been doing, I've been going with Justin to do the, springtime inspections for property assessments. We basically have one more day, so April 1st will probably be our last day of going out and looking at, new properties, seeing what people are at. That seems to be going well. There's quite a few new houses. I wish I'd written down how many, but some of them aren't quite finished. There's one really nice new house going in that should add quite a bit to the grand list when it's finished, but it's not finished yet. But pretty comparable to last year in terms of the level of development going on, and so it's hard to predict exactly because with the town taxing inventory, what happens at the mill can affect the grand list as well in terms of what they're carrying for inventory. But looking like, we did have one house that we will probably have, I think Justin's going to consider revaluing because we haven't been back there. The town hasn't been out there since it was reappraised, and it looks like nobody's lived in it in several years, and there's quite a bit of damage to it. So anyway, there was one property that I think may go down in value, but there are a couple of things left over in the trailer park that we still have a little bit of grand list there, but that aren't there anymore. But
What's the latest on the reappraisal?
I haven't talked to Nemrick about that in particular. I know we're still on track for 2028 and that being a 2-year project. I probably should touch base with them to see exactly when they want to get started on that. Because obviously they're doing contracts with a lot of different towns. I think Berkshire's reappraising right now. And I think Enosburg was reappraising also. It's not Nemrick who's doing that, but, so I can ask Justin about that or talk directly to them. But I haven't talked to them.
Heard anything different?
I have not heard any change in plans on that, but it's never a bad idea to check in. Have received a few, additional, you'll note that I printed the sheriff's report for the month of February. There were some reduced hours there because he had a change of staff, but he has replaced that officer now. So, and we are credited with some hours of coverage that we didn't receive in February, so theoretically in the future we'll be getting some additional coverage on that. And we have had a couple of police complaints with the warm weather coming out. We've had more poor behavior on the roads. We had some late night burnouts here in the village on Saturday. Woke up the whole neighborhood, I'm sure. So I've had a couple people ask me for specific coverage in specific areas or I have noted that obviously we're limited and we only have 8 hours of coverage per week right now, and the sheriff has had some personnel issues, so we had sometimes when we didn't have as much, but I have asked him if he could more frequently provide evening coverage or alternatively early morning coverage, cause that's when we do tend to have the most, problems.
Yeah.
In a related field, last week, Adam Regan submitted his resignation for the animal control, position, which I was sorry to see that, but, of course, right after that, I got about 3 job calls, so,
He shared with me one of the complaints from someone and an audio message, and
yeah.
there's no doubt in my mind why anybody would, I mean, no doubt that, you know, he had enough of listening to the BS that people provide.
Right, yeah, and there are some situations that it's hard, there are situations that our ordinance doesn't cover, and they may be, sad situations or frustrating situations, but they're not necessarily covered, but, you know, the town doesn't necessarily have a role in them because they don't meet the terms of our ordinance, and that is hard for people to understand, anyway, so we'll have to post for that position, and in the meantime, I'm answering those calls, not that I can do too much about them, but I'm trying to investigate to the extent that I'm able to right now, but that's another position for the town to fill. Hunter alluded to the repairs on the lights, and that's something that when it was mentioned, you know, Matt McCrea, because he has some interest, expertise in electrical, he said he would look at that for us. He gave me his recommendation of what we should do, but I think Hunter thought there were better things for Matt to do specifically, so I'll be looking for somebody to do that for us. The other thing I have been looking at lately is the floors in this building. I called the local contractor about that. Unfortunately, this particular type of floor, there are fewer and fewer people around who are willing to service them mostly because of the chemicals involved in stripping the floors and all that. So I'm still looking for someone, but he recommended that, he said, this VTC type floor is cheaper to install, but there is more maintenance to it than the modern composites that they make now are much lower maintenance, but they are more expensive to install. But he said that there is an alternative to doing this traditional strip and wax all treatment, which would be to sort of buff into the vinyl and leave it as like a matte finish floor, and then you would not require as much maintenance, and it would be a duller look to it. Or, you know, he basically recommended that we consider replacing the floor with a modern composite. But I said, well, we're not really budgeting for that right now. So I think I can still find a contractor, but he was kind of letting me know how, that there were, and I was aware that there were other people that used to offer that service who are not doing it anymore, kind of for the same reasons, so. Anyway, I'd like to see if we can still find somebody to do that, and, but it's something to consider in the future, that if there are fewer people around who do that work, then maybe the town should make a plan to come up with a different surface. The other thing is that servicing it is gonna require us to move, you know, all the furniture out of each room and then waiting for the floors to cure it's just a lot of time and moving stuff around and. On to other things here. Jane has put out, has advertised for anticipated opening for the assistant clerk. So she'll be interviewing some candidates tomorrow for that. She's received several, I think she's got 4 or 5 people that she's gonna interview at least. On the annual audit, we have completed Amanda has completed our, we talked when we met with the auditor back in January, we met with them, and because the town is on a cash basis, they audit us on an accrual basis. We talked with them about creating categories in our budget so that the town could do a modified accrual once a year when we are audited. So basically, essentially the auditor they keep track of all of our outstanding delinquent tax, outstanding property tax bills, outstanding water bills, etc. And they assign those a value as an asset that we have not actualized yet. And similarly, all of our assets that we own, they put depreciation on those over time so that they come up with a current position for the town. The idea being that we will continue to operate on a cash basis, but we have created categories in our budget that will line up with the auditors. And when we audit, we will accept the values that they've calculated and put them into our budget so that then the two accounts will be in balance. And there will be no, there should be an exact match between the numbers between the two of them, two reports. And so any current balances we have, most of them have to do with this cash basis versus accrual basis. So they were calculating some accrued payroll that we were not keeping on our balance sheet, and so the fund balance that they were showing was different from the fund balance that we were showing. And so Amanda has put the work into creating those categories within our budget that will be adjusted when we come to do the audit next year, and so that the audit and the town's books will be exact matches of each other, assuming that we did all of our accounting correctly. So she has done that, and we're also, I think each of you received a copy of a memo that she and Jane prepared, talking about various policies that we probably should be discussing and implementing regarding who's fulfilling what roles with regard to accounts payable and just making sure that there are two sets of eyes on each thing and defining who's doing what role. And the other thing is that so Amanda was we contract with Amanda for approximately 20 hours a month. She was somewhat over for the month of January because we were working on the audit. In the month of February, she was down to 11 hours. She's currently at 20 hours for the month of March. But Jane is requesting that Amanda sit in with the interviews for her for these candidates tomorrow. I don't know if that would be at a full rate or not, but she's wondering if that's all right with you guys, that if she goes over the 20 hours to sit out on those interviews or not. I don't know.
Why should I need her to sit on the?
I don't think she needs to exactly, but she was asking about it, so I said I would ask you about it, so.
Does Jane want other people at the interviews?
I'm not sure if, I think Demetrius wasn't available, she probably would have asked him to do it, but, I don't know, I'm not sure for that. I said, Jane, it's your program to hire them, so I don't know that you necessarily need any help here, but.
Well, I guess if.
How many hours of interviews does she
I
have?
think she has 4 or 5 people, so I can't imagine it being, more than 3 hours to get
Yeah.
those people.
Well, if she feels more comfortable with Amanda there, then she might see something that Jane doesn't, I guess.
Also on the audit, I've been going back and forth they have a person who focuses on the assets of the town, and I've been going back and forth with them, making sure they have all of our equipment and building information correct, and specifically all the projects that we did last year that had to do with improvements to the buildings or water repairs that we did. Making sure they have all the invoices for all of those things, and so they just sent me the copy of everything completed, so I'll be signing off on that and sending it back to them. As far as I know, that's the last, element of the audit to be worked on, so then they'll be typing up their report. I've been talking with the asset person, but I was hoping to get back to, John, the audit manager, and see about when the audit will exactly be available, and then try to schedule the meeting with you guys, and, I think that'll happen in either late April or early May, but he wasn't in the office today, so I wasn't able to get a hold of him to try to see if we could nail that down, so. I'll be following up with him and trying to schedule that. I figured we'd try to have the audit meeting not at a regular meeting, but as a specific standalone meeting. The other, I also, will look at the personnel policy in a minute, but I had a follow-up meeting with the employees, about that, and the other thing I talked to them about was the annual review for their performance, and I thought we would schedule that I'd like to schedule that sometime in the first 2 weeks of April, like we did last year, to have it during the day, so that they can, so they don't have to meet, here after hours, and then, in theory, if we were able to do all those, then at the first meeting in April, you guys could approve any raises that you wanted to implement. They would go into effect for the second payroll of April. So I don't know if you guys wanna set a date for that, or if I can just send an email and see when people are available.
We'll try to do it the week of the 6th, 7th, 8th.
Other than a Tuesday or Thursday, if we could.
Does Wednesday work? I mean,
Yeah.
Friday would be hard, but any other day would be fine.
Shoot for Wednesday the 8th.
Wednesday the 8th,
Yep.
and, you guys wanna do it by 12:30 or 1, sometime in there?
I'm fine, whatever.
Yeah, 12:30 would be good.
Oh, right, yeah.
I would just need to leave by like 2:30.
Okay, well, considering we've got 4 employees to review, I hope it won't take that long.
I hope so.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I asked Jane to, for that first meeting in April, if she has any by that time, we may have a new assistant town clerk, and, if she has any or we may not. I asked her at that time to make any recommendations she has for, obviously we can't review their performance, but she can make recommendations for her as well as her staff, and have you guys review that. Finally, I have contacted the state with regard to the bridge project and have not heard back about that. I've also, and I specifically asked them about impacts the bridge would have if that project, if they could forecast any of the impacts it would have on the Historical Society, because I know the Historical Society has they'd like to redo the stairs in the front and in the side of the building, and if the state could say, yeah, we're not gonna go near that, then they could proceed with that, but I haven't heard anything back about that. I did hear back from Greta Brunswick that she is discussing with the engineer the brownfields project, and she said she'd let me know as soon as they get a meeting scheduled for that. And the one thing I did bring up to her is that I went down, and when weather broke there, I went down and looked at the site again, and just looking at it, the areas along the road, on both sides of the road and behind the building, I was a little concerned looking at it, thinking about if the grade was 18 inches taller everywhere, because then the water would tend to go back toward the building or into the road more. So I asked if there's some way that we could maybe discuss if there's a way that we could excavate some of the dirt and maybe just redistribute it on the site and cover it up, without necessarily moving it out, digging it up and moving it. But she said that's, could be discussed with the engineer at the time, but anyway, so she's taking that to the engineer in the state, and she said she'd let me know when they have a follow-up meeting on that. And as I mentioned before, I've also contacted the District 8 to try to set up a meeting for at least for Hunter and myself to sit down with them and go over the grants for the paving and the structures. And one thing I never got quite clarified last year was whether we could apply for, how many different structures could we apply for? Because if we had a lot of small ones, we have a lot of small projects that would be nice to include. I don't know if they all have to be in one area or not, but I mean, in general, they want to keep the paving in kind of one area. But,
Yeah.
But for example, that culvert on East Sheldon Road that he mentioned, that would be a good candidate for that grant as well. So anyway, I'm hoping to schedule that meeting, and when I do, I will let you guys know when that is. So if any of you want to attend that,
Okay.
that would be available. I think that is all.
Alright.
So the personnel policy, what's,
Yeah, okay, so specifically on that, if you wanna
I'll just,
get into that. So I met with them again, I let them know that, it did not seem like the select board was inclined to let them have 2 personal days and keep the current holiday situation.
yeah,
And so I said, would you guys rather have 2 personal days and 1 less holiday, or would you rather maintain the number of holidays and have only 1 personal day as it is now? And they preferred maintaining the current holidays and only having 1 personal day. So that I have amended, I've only printed the part of it that we would amend, because I thought that would save paper.
yeah,
So the amendments such that, as they're proposed, it would be changing from 110 hours of comp time to 120 hours. Then we would maintain the number of current town holidays and personal days. I think I defined it, since the full-time employees would only be getting 1 personal day, I defined it as part-time employees, permanent part-time employees would get half a personal day.
Yep.
And in general, I reemphasized that the part-time employees would get a prorated amount of benefits for everything, whether that's leave or health insurance or, and so then with regard to vacation time, again, we've switched that so it's defined by the length of vacation that they're accruing on, as opposed to a number of hours per month, which is how it was before. And then the sick time, I brought to them that if you started at 40 hours of sick time when you were hired, and then we added 8 hours per year of service that you'd be accruing on, and with it capped at 12 days, excuse me. So 96 hours would be the most you would be accruing after 6 years of working for the town, you would be accruing, or excuse me,
you got that down as eligible vacation leave, that should be sick. So you got it down as eligible vacation leave.
oh, so it should be sick leave.
Be sick.
Yeah, sorry, yeah. I'm sure there's probably a few typos in there, I'm sorry. So that's the,
Other than that, it stays the same.
other than that, the rest of the policy would be the same, so.
Yep.
And this would clarify for the clerk what to put into NEMRIC to have them accruing on through the year.
Okay. There's seen a problem with that, or?
no, I think I think we're good.
Yeah, looks like,
You wanna type up policy for us for next meeting?
Yeah, I think we
Then
can,
we can approve it.
I can print that so you can approve it, okay.
Okay.
And then if you wanna head to the procurement policy, and I think I only made one copy of that because if it's there or not. I'm sure I printed that.
I haven't seen it.
We'll see if I left it in the other room there, sorry. Oh, here it is, I'm sorry. So I only made one copy, but however, the operative language, I think, is on I think it's on the page, where it says, defines categories categorizes the purchases. So in the authorizing, so the agents who are authorized to purchase things for the town, the town clerk, and for general expenses, the clerk and myself would be authorized to make purchases. For the highway department, the road foreman or the designee or a road commissioner would be authorized. For the sewer department, likewise, the wastewater and sewer operators would be authorized to make those purchases. And the fire department would be authorized to make purchases with regard to the funds for the fire department and the library trustees or their designees for the library. And then in the categories, where it would set levels of expenditure, I put a clause in there saying that for the library and the fire department, they are authorized to spend up to budgeted amounts. And there would be, basically the select board would only require prior notification, or prior approval would only be needed if they were gonna exceed the budgeted amounts for those categories. So to read it specifically, purchases by and for the Sheldon Municipal Library or Sheldon Volunteer Fire Department are not subject to the following requirements, i.e. the categories of requirements that follow. Purchases by and for the library and fire department shall only require prior approval by the select board if they are in excess of approved budgeted amounts. And I suppose I could include language in there that both the library and the fire department would be following their own internal policies with regard to purchases. But
oh, I would guess
Yeah,
it's fairly
but-
similar as
but-
far as exceeding the budget and
Right.
whatever approved.
right. So I think that, and otherwise the rest of the policy is unchanged from the gradations that you guys had indicated before in terms of what's a minor purchase, what's a major purchase, and
Yeah.
and I specifically put them in there because if it did require, if we were talking about a federal grant expenditure or whatever, then it's the most, according to this, it's whatever the grant requires us to do, and that would apply to the library and fire department equally to the rest of the departments.
Alright,
So likewise, I can, if you guys are all right with that, I can print that and have it for approval at the next meeting, unless you wanna vote on it.
yeah, we probably should do it next meeting, that way.
Okay.
I think I'll have a chance to read it over.
Yeah, and I can email the full text to everybody so you can have a chance to read that.
Yeah, that's probably the best thing. Chance to read it through before we approve it.
And then we can get everybody, well,
Yeah, now everybody.
whoever will be here next time.
Yeah. This bid for the backstops there,
Yeah, so, back in the fall, we had talked with the school about doing this. I kinda said, if you guys, they seemed anxious they wanna get them, done for this year's playing season. I said, well, the town doesn't really have money until next year to do it, so I encouraged them to go ahead and get bids for it. They emailed me recently saying that they would prefer that the town did the contracting for this rather than the school doing it. My understanding is that the athletic, I'm not sure if it'd be the PTO, but the athletic boosters of some sort and the Little League
Yeah,
would all share in the cost of the project, so it would cost, depending on the quote we each be getting, it would be about, you'd split that number about in 4, and that would be the town's contribution to it, and that
16,000.
would be within the budget that we have about 5,000 for recreational improvements right now, which would not leave us a whole lot for other things, but I've contacted Kira Fence also about a quote, and he had we went back and forth. He didn't necessarily agree with the dimensions. I assume that the school is just quoting to replace what's already there in terms of the dimensions of the field, and I didn't, anyway, I've not yet received a specific number from him yet. But I also am not, this contractor says that they are definitely available to do the work and would be ready to get it done by the end of April, and I've not gotten that assurance from another contractor yet, so, I could wait to get to receive that quote, but I'm putting it in front of you now just because the school seems anxious to proceed with that, and the town's share is, I think they would prefer that the town did the contract and paid the full amount, and then we'd be reimbursed by the other 3 parties, is my understanding of the. So that the town's exposure on this project would be 1/4 of that quote. I don't know if you wanna, we've done this before, I think with the salt quote, you said, we would approve it, but we would wait to see if there was a second quote received, just to, and if it was less, then I would probably bring it to the next meeting and discuss that.
Yeah, that'd probably be a good option.
Does the Little League have their quarter of the share?
As far as I know, they do, yes,
yeah, I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do. I would assume it's Sabrina who you're
Yeah,
in contact with.
Sabrina basically proposed the whole idea.
Yeah, the PTO has separate accounts for events and our main account versus the sports account, and I believe that would be something that they'd be able to pay for.
So,
Alright, I'll take a motion to accept the bid from P.E.G Fence Company, contingent on getting another quote.
I'll make that motion.
Alright, a second on that,
Yep.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Alright,
Thank you.
health officer.
Was that?
Health officer, is that you, no? Or was you?
Yeah, so I'm not really sure what happened here. We got an email today from them saying, hey, you need, you need to appoint somebody right away, and then they attached this letter that's dated December, but neither James nor I remember receiving that
I
letter
never
or an email, so I'm sorry. I would have put this on the agenda for the last meeting if I'd known that it was coming up that quickly.
Is it just, it's a 1-year thing?
I think it is can't remember if it's a 3 or a 5-year appointment. I think it's a 3-year appointment.
3 years, yep.
Unfortunately, the process they make me do this is that you would vote on it, but then Steve, we're gonna have to get your email set up because they need you to respond to an email somehow
Right.
So that's the process that they use. So anyway, you and I can work on that, but I didn't have time to talk to Rick about whether you want to continue doing that or if we should be looking for someone else. I don't know.
If someone else wants to do it, that's fine, but other than that, I'll do it.
I suppose if we found somebody who really, really wanted to do that, we could reappoint them. Let's put it this way, if we don't appoint Rick, then by default it's you, Steve. So, yeah.
We're gonna appoint Rick. I've got enough things to do.
Do we need a motion for that?
I think that'd be a good idea.
Okay. Make that motion.
Yeah, I will make that motion to have Rick continue to be our health officer for the next 3 years.
Alright. Second on that? I'll second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. So we'll get that
I'll work with you to
straightened
get that approved, Steve, thank you.
out. Is Hunter interested in that?
Oh, sorry, I forgot that. I think I talked him into it, and I shared it with him, and I said, I think a lot of towns have it that they have a representative, but they appoint an alternate,
Yeah.
who would go in case they can't, so.
What was that for?
So regional planning has a committee that, their transportation committee, and basically it's to review any, they have input on, well, first of all, they maintain a list of local projects that are supposed to be prioritized by the state. So for example, our bridge down here,
Yep.
they help maintain the list that project is on. And, basically any larger projects that are going on regionally, they are involved in that, and also they're there to provide information to towns and gather information from towns about what problems they're having locally.
Okay.
So it's once a month, it's the second Thursday at 6 p.m. and it's a virtual meeting, so. And I don't know, and I think there are some meetings that they skip, so I don't know that it's gonna be necessarily every month.
Good. Alright, I'll make a motion, we appoint Hunter to that board.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
And the only thing, I wanted Hunter to do that because they have encouraged, I think they used to have almost all road commissioners on that board, and lately they haven't had as many, and they really would like to have more of the road guys doing that, so I think Joey Clark does that for Amesburg, for example.
Did you ended up getting, the health insurance straightened out?
Yes,
Okay.
yep, that's
Awesome.
so that so we have I think there's some payment, we got an extra large bill because of that, because we've hadn't made a payment for Jane in the previous month. But
Yeah.
We've done that now, I think, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
So is the assistant clerk still here, or is?
Yeah, he's still here, he's,
They're going through the interview process, aren't they?
yeah, they're still, as far as I know, I think he's been a finalist for their position, but
They haven't,
they have not decided
Oh.
yet, so.
And that it gives him the ability to give a 2-week notice, I
I
believe.
think so, yeah, or something like that, I'm sure he'll give us as much notice as he can.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then, I believe he said that he could possibly do some sort of training as well,
That's,
maybe,
again, we're hoping that
possibly.
he would be so kind to do that, at least with regard to the land records.
Yeah,
I'm not sure
that's
she's got a
especially,
firm commitment from him to do that, but, yeah. I mean, I'd love it if he could still, because it's only 20 hours a week over there, but
right?
I wish we could get him for a day a week, but I don't know that he's really got time for that, so. But, oh, one thing I did not mention is Jane has decided that she wants to change the hours slightly and that she'd like to take a lunch break, so we've built in the hours for the town clerk. So it's still open the same amount of time,
yeah,
it's just, it's open a little, there's a 1 hour break for lunch and she's open till 4 most days now, so.
So there's nobody for the town clerk at a certain hour, like 12 to
From
1?
12 to 1, there would be, the office would be closed. but,
Okay.
Yeah, but it should be open until 4 instead of until 3, so. I think in a way, we'll probably serve more people than we have that way.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, especially if it's like known, it's posted, and
Right,
it'll be
and
posted.
I think part of that is that not only would she'd like to be able to eat lunch without necessarily getting interrupted, but she's trying to create, time in her schedule when she can focus on some of those like treasurer type tasks that really should be done, dedicatedly and not without interruption, so. Oh, and one other, I've not completed it yet, but I am working on a new payroll sheet to send out to people for the next payroll, so that we're at one time card. for
Cohesive, oh, I love
everybody.
it.
One time sheet for everybody,
Good,
so
Yes.
hoping we can implement that for the next payroll.
thank you.
Yeah,
I think that'll make things easier for Jane, I know.
yes,
The grid we fill out for the library doesn't
yeah.
feel helpful.
I'll read the meeting minutes from our last meeting. Town of Sheldon Selectboard Water Commission regular meeting minutes. Held here at the town office, March 9th of 2026. In attendance from the select board was Maria Davison, Stephen Dodd, Nicholas Norris, Richard Piasny, and Portia Trombley. Others here were Brian Derry, Rail Trail Rep, Matt Stebbins, Town Administrator, Jerry Vasey, Northwest Access TV, and Nancy West, Planning Commission. Called the meeting to order at 7:35 and read the organizational meeting. Board reorganized, electing a chair, vice chair, and secretary. Nick Norris nominated Steve Dodd to serve as board chair. No other nominations. Nomination of Steve Dodd approved by voice vote. Nick Norris nominated Richard Piasny to serve as board vice chair. No other nominations. Nomination of Richard Piasny approved by voice vote. Nick Norris nominated Maria Davison to serve as board secretary. No other nominations. Nomination of Maria Davison approved by voice vote. The board members introduced themselves. 7:40, the board designated its regular meeting schedule. I move that the board meet regularly on the second and fourth Monday of each month at 6:30 at 1640 Main Street in Sheldon, with any meeting falling on a holiday postponed till 6:30 the following day. The motion was seconded by Nick Norris and carried with all in favor. 7:42, the board designated posting locations for town notices. Nick Norris moved to retain current posting location: Sheldon Springs Post Office, Sheldon Mini Mart, Stewart Shop, Sheldon Elementary School, and newspaper of record, the St. Albans Messenger. Seconded by Maria Davison. The motion carried. 7:45, the board took up authorizing the review and approval of orders outside of meetings. Move to authorize the approval of select board orders outside of duly warned meetings, provided that such orders are reviewed and signed by 3 members of the board. Richard Piasny seconded, and the motion carried. 7:46, the chair read the minutes of the 2026 annual town meeting. Richard Piasny moved to approve the minutes as read, seconded by Maria Davison, and the motion carried. The board signed the minutes. 7:54, the board took up appointments of Planning Commission and Development Review Board. Nancy West reported that Jeff Kane and Matthew McCray would accept reappointment to the Planning Commission and DRB. And Peter West would accept reappointment to the DRB. I move to appoint Jeff Kane and Matthew McCray to 3-year terms on the Planning Commission, seconded by Maria Davison, and the motion carried. And then I move to appoint Jeff Kane, Matthew McCray, and Peter West to 3-year terms on the Development Review Board, seconded by Nick Norris, and the motion carried. 7:57, the board took up appointment of the tree warden and optional officers. Nick Norris moved that the select board as a body continue serving as the tree warden, seconded by Maria Davison, and the motion carried. 7:58, the board took up appointment of the Northwest Regional Planning Commission. I moved to appoint Matthew Stebbins to continue serving on the Regional Commission, seconded by Nick Norris, and the motion carried. 7:59, the board took up appointment of NRPC Transportation Advisory Committee. Nick Norris moved to table it, seconded by Richard Piasny, and the motion carried. 8 o'clock, the board took up appointments of the Northwest Rail Trail Council and Northwest Solid Waste Management District. I moved to appoint Brian Derry to the Rail Trail Council, seconded by Rick Piasny, and the motion carried. And moved to table the Waste District appointment, seconded by Nick, and the motion carried. 8:01, the board took up appointment of the Northwest Communication Union District. I moved to appoint Matthew Stebbins to continue serving on the Regional Commission, seconded by Maria Davison, and the motion carried. 8:01, I read the agenda for the regular meeting. 8:02, Brian Derry asked when the board would hold meetings regarding the annual audit and the Bridge 11 project. He would like to be notified. Brian reported that the Historical Society and the Rail Trail Council are interested in building a simplified replica train station and mural at Sheldon Creek, and asked if ARPA funds could be used for the project. I answered that the ARPA funds were already dedicated to the Mill Street Sewer project. Next, suggested the town could pursue grant funding to support the project. The corrective action plan for the Brownfields project at the Historical Society was also discussed. 8:27, Master Stebbins delivered the town administrator's report. Matt shared his discussions with the town attorney regarding the procurement policy update and with town employees regarding the personnel policy update. The board discussed improving payroll reporting, town building security systems, including cameras, fencing, and lighting were discussed. 9:03, the chair read the minutes from the February 23rd meeting, and the board signed payroll warrant 2606. The board declined to sign accounts payable warrant 626 as one check was omitted from the list. Matt will ask the clerk to prepare a corrected warrant and call members to come in and sign when available. 9:05, Nick Norris moved to approve the minutes as read, seconded by Maria Davison, and the motion carried. The board signed the minutes. 9:06, the board took up review of 2 quotes received from telecom services. Matt explained the terms of each quote, and the board authorized the town administrator to act on quotes. 9:26, Nick Norris moved to adjourn the meeting, seconded by Maria, and the motion carried. Next regular meeting is on Monday, March 23rd at 6:30 at the town office. Take a motion to accept these minutes as read.
I'll make that motion.
Alright, a second on that.
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Alright, we just need a motion for this license, or the liquor license, or does that be signed somewhere?
You know, I can't recall if, it's been a while. We only do them once a year, so I can't recall if we take a motion on those or not.
I used to have to sign them, but I don't see
Right.
where there's a,
It's all online
all
now.
online, yeah.
So I think if
So I
you,
guess we just need the motion to approve. So it's liquor license for the Abbey Pub and Restaurant, there's a couple different ones, right?
right, I think they have
They have,
first class for running a restaurant. I can't remember what the third class, and then they have one for the pavilion out back serving there.
Oh, right.
And then, I'm not sure what the third class one is for.
first class restaurant and bar license is for the business address, it's the Abbey. And then they have an application for outside consumption permit. That must be for them. That must be for catering and wherever else they.
Yeah, or the pavilion out back.
Pavilion or
Yes.
whatever it is. Yeah. Okay. So. Then they have a third class restaurant bar license. Alright. I guess we need a motion to accept these. I'll get a motion to accept these permits.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Alright. All those in favor?
Aye.
Alright. That should be approved. Yeah, what we got.
I think that's everything on your agenda. If I remember correctly, because the only additions were the health officer appointment and the additional fleet permit. So I think, by my count, I think we've gone all the way through it.
I came to speak when you guys are done with your business.
Yep. Alright, what you got?
I'm gonna see
meeting. So, you may know me, you may not, my name is Christian Jablonski. Actually, grew up as a kid riding on Dan's track. My stepfather was Ray Jablonski. So I come to the board tonight at your suggestion to discuss with the leaders of the town and look for the town's opinion and solidarity. And what I think is a big issue that the state is proposing or has already acted on, Act 181, which has severe implications and limitations on rural Vermonters and the community. And while the zones they have proposed are limited for Sheldon, I would not be surprised to find that through later amendments after they've implemented this here for Act 181 proposal, that it continues to grow and expand and basically strip the rights out of rural landowners in Sheldon. So I wanted to get the board's opinion, kind of just make them aware or provide some education if you guys aren't already aware of this. There is a rally tomorrow at the State House that a lot of people are going to attend. You may have seen that Fairfield has put out a statement as well, a letter, expressing their disinterest in the act, as it goes against their policies, their zoning policies, and basically takes away kind of local governance. And what it tries to do is push development in central districts, which I think that's a good thing. Help development in areas where it certainly needs it, by speeding up through an Act 250 process or eliminating the Act 250 process. Where I think the state is making a mistake is punishing everybody else by making them possibly have to do Act 250, which, if you're not familiar, is a very extensive and expensive process. So that's kind of my concern. I just wanted to see what your guys' opinions were. If you'd be willing to write a statement similar to Fairfield, and possibly attend a rally with short notice.
Yeah, I've got some friends that are going down to that, but
Yeah, the state probably expects people to be working on a Tuesday, as most people are that don't, aren't politicians.
Right, well, what time is it?
It's at noon.
Noon, okay.
Yeah, right in the middle of the day, it's helpful.
Yep, super helpful.
I've read up on it quite a bit, so if you guys have any questions. I do permitting for a living. I work with Mike Jarvis in the Eastern, partner in Jarvis.
Yeah.
The Development Review Board is very familiar with my face. Not you guys so much, so it's interesting to sit in tonight and listen to the business that you guys have. And I am interested in joining the planning commission as well. But I'm just barely getting into trying to be more present in Sheldon.
So in a nutshell, can you elaborate just what the Act 180 does? I remember just hearing something on the news and I never paid a lot of attention to it.
So it's a revamp of the land use act and how the state is trying to govern what applies for Act 250 and what doesn't apply for Act 250. Where a developer in a town with zoning, they could do 9 lots as long as if they're doing like single family residences, they could do 9 lots and not need Act 250. Where now, instead of it being the size of a project, it's going to be based solely on location. And where the town center districts, in the immediate area here, and then the other immediate area where there's the school and whatnot, they're proposing more development. Yes, you don't really need Act 250. You can do more lots without limitations, that sort of thing. But everywhere else, the tier 3 zones, are going to be automatic Act 250. If you wanna do anything, you wanna, say you got a 50-acre farm, you wanna, give a piece to your kid. Oh, you're in a tier 3 zone? Well, now you have to do Act 250, which is 6 months, a year, $20,000 more, $30,000 more, just for the state. That's like, why give them more overreach? Why give the government more power for the rural guy, rural remoter? It just makes no sense to me.
Didn't we talk about, as far as number of, like lots allowed, within?
So the town had, to the extent that the town has interacted with Act 181 so far as last year, as part of the, so the tier 1 being the village areas, those areas are, a role was given to the regional planning commissions to define those areas. And so there was a regional plan update last year where we included, that's where we were defining the village zones in Sheldon Creek and in the Springs. And basically, Act 181 creates an exemption zone in those areas where Act 181 is presumed not to, or excuse me, Act 250 review is presumed not to, is exempt in those areas. And basically, there was a role for the regional plan to define those areas. Unfortunately, the regional plan does not have any impact on so most of the state is now tier 2, it's sort of this intermediate scrutiny area, and then what that would broadly correspond to like our rural lands 1 in Sheldon, and then the rural lands 2 areas in Sheldon many of those would be in what's considered tier 3. My understanding is the rules regarding development for tier 2 and tier 3 are gonna be developed by this statewide land use board that's been created, not by the regional plans as the tier 1 areas are. So there's less of a local, so the regional plans obviously developed by our RPC with input from towns regarding where those areas are. My understanding of especially the tier 3 is that that's gonna be developed by the land use board, which is a statewide panel that's appointed by the governor and their
Our local
legislature.
zoning laws aren't gonna,
The current map doesn't include a lot of tier 3 for Sheldon, but I know the state, and they are going to add more and more as time moves on. That's just how they are. I think the tier 1 is a good implementation. They've also added an addendum for the road rule, which a lot of people have agreements about.
Yeah.
So if you have a new driveway going in that's 800 feet, or you have a combination of driveways or roads on your property that equals 2,000 feet, as a lot of farms do, to Act 250. If you wanna give that, do a house for your kid, or if you wanna build a new whatever, you're looking at doing Act 250. And in rural Sheldon, I can see that being a big problem. Some places that you need to reach on your property are easily over 800 feet off the road. It's just how it is. We have natural wetland communities, we have ag fields that are in production. You gotta find the space that you have. You can't just be 100 feet off the road all the time.
Yeah, and Steve, to answer your question about local zoning, for example, so when the town gave the input on the village areas, and that created an Act 250 exemption in those areas, but there still is local zoning would still apply to those areas. So we could still have a local development code that could be more stringent, people developing areas and developing in those areas. But my understanding is that if the tier 3, if there were areas in Sheldon that were, I don't think they're, as currently constituted, there are not many areas in Sheldon that are in tier 3, and most of them are in our rural lands 2 areas where we restrict zoning. We're the most restrictive area in Sheldon for respect to zoning, but my understanding is that the state regulations will end up being probably more restrictive than our local zoning are in those areas. And So, you know, the state, the Act 250 review is gonna be supersede local zoning in those areas. And specifically with regard to the 800-foot row on the roads, I have, since Justin and I have been going out and doing property assessments, I talked to a couple of landowners while we were doing that who asked me about this particularly and who are interested in what that might mean for their property and whether.
Regional planning didn't give us that highlight when they were
Right,
talking
yeah,
about.
well, it was it's kinda out of their control, they don't
Yeah, I
really,
don't, okay.
To be
Yeah.
exact,
Yeah.
they're not necessarily proposing area in the rural two zone, as you would expect with the significant, communities, natural wildlife that they would wanna protect. They have mapped, Rice Hill and Dutton Road, they have a large area there where all that residential housing is, but there's also some wildlife communities there. That's part of the tier 3 zone, which makes not a lot of sense to me. And then as you go down Rice Hill up to the border in Franklin Highgate, just past the Naishi farm, that area all as well is currently included in this tier 3, which yes, there's a lot of rural woodland, possibly wildlife areas to protect up there. But now it's detracting from the landowner's rights and devaluing their property. And there's a state overreach, in my opinion, on those property owners, which I don't even know if they've been notified. There was a policy the state put out about possibly notifying these people, just because of the backlash that they've been getting from this bill that they're trying to push through. So, but my concern is not necessarily with what the areas they're proposing now are for tier 3, because 90% of it's gonna remain tier 2, which is the current rules that we're under. It's that once they get their foot in the door, they're gonna continue to expand on these tier 3 areas until they take over all of the rural lands throughout Vermont.
So it's the state that determines what tier certain lands are and not the regional planning?
Yeah, it's a random planner on GIS that's probably never been to the property.
Right.
And I would venture to say that most people that have lands in these tier 3 zones don't even know that this is what's coming.
What you're saying, you can't build over 800 feet from road.
If you do, you're subject to Act 250 review. You're going to be spending a year fighting the state, getting engineers, getting stormwater permits, getting Act 250 review, paying $20,000 in permitting, just for them to mold out for a year and tell you whether or not they'll let you do your project. I push people away from Act 250 for review for a reason. Even as a consultant, yes, it'd be a lot of project time, but I don't want the people that I'm consulting to spend unnecessary amount of money. It's ridiculous. It's what it is. I think Act 250 has its purposes for controlling massive development projects, massive commercial projects, and having oversight in that. But what I primarily do is small residential projects, and even that would be scrutiny to Act 250 review in these zones, or if the road driveway is 800 feet.
Yeah. The state's trying to get more power.
Yeah.
Yep, every day. Did you know that the governor vetoed the bill, but it was overturned?
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. Yeah, I don't know, not a whole lot we can do, I guess, but,
Well,
so I don't know if there's a whole lot we can do,
it's
is it?
1 ant or 1,000 ants.
Do you know how that chip pack works?
I'm sorry?
The chip pack,
It's got something to do with funding, tax relief. My boss knows more about it than I do.
Yeah. You guys wanna do about it?
I don't know how much time there is to do anything about it, like I said.
Yeah,
There's a rally tomorrow, I just didn't know if,
Yeah, do you know when they're voting on this?
I'm not sure, they're talking about pushing it back maybe 6 months because of all the fight that they've seen. And, you know, depending on the outcome of the rally, then maybe they'll just vote on that even more.
Yeah.
Actually enacting the bill, but I know, like I said, Fairfield put out a statement. I feel like Sheldon could do something similar, if that is in the best interest of the residents of Sheldon. I mean, even for myself, I wouldn't be surprised if 5-10 years from now, the land that I bought, I wouldn't be able to subdivide it without being subject to Act 250 review, just because it is so rural. And my land is far off the road. So, nothing we can do about it, just something to think about.
draft a letter, or
I can do that if you'd like me to, yeah.
I think Fairfield made a pretty good letters of template. Somebody put some thought and anger into it.
Would you like me to, I mean, considering this thing is happening tomorrow, or you want me to write something up and try to send it to you and see if you guys would agree to it, or?
well, when are the rallies tomorrow, but when is the supposed to go up to a vote?
Well, the Act 181's already been passed, but people are finding out about the implications and they're trying to repeal it. So that's the point of the rally.
Yeah. Well, it was specifically, as I said, last year regional planning was working on these tier 1 areas, and it was one of those things where they passed the law and then the details were filled in over a period.
State's good at doing that.
Right, so.
They sold everybody on
Pass
tier
things
1.
and then give you the details
Yeah.
later on the
They sold
stuff.
everybody on the tier 1 because that sounded good, and now
Because they were pushing for more housing, so
everybody else getting screwed out.
that's what we heard about it.
I can certainly take a crack, I'll look at what Fairfield wrote and see if I can
Yeah,
take a crack at it, and I know, as I said, there's some of the people in Sheldon that I've talked to that I might reach out to and see what their feelings are on it, and I can share that with you guys, and, I'm not really sure what I don't know if there's a current, specific legislative proposal to either scale back or repeal the law entirely. I don't think it'd be, I'm
right.
not sure if it would be possible to repeal the law entirely, but if there was I can find out if there's some specific proposal that, and what committees that's with, so that's who we probably wanna share that correspondence with.
Contact Bob or Tom. over
Right,
there
yeah.
and see where they're at with that.
Get the reps on board.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
Alright. Anything else we need to discuss tonight?
I'm here to find out when the audit is.
So I talked to I tried to get a hold of the audit manager today, he was not in the office, so I do not know the answer to that yet, Brian. We are pretty much getting to the end of communicating with them about that, so I'm gonna call him tomorrow and see if I can, I'm trying to figure out exactly when we're gonna receive the audit. And then it'll be sometime, typically that's in April, so sometime around, I think we got about April 20th last year. And we would be meeting with them sometime after that, and I'm trying to schedule that with him, but I just got the notice today that we were all set on the assets, part of it, and so I will call him tomorrow, and assuming if I can find out when he's available, I will try to schedule that meeting and I'll let you know, okay? I'm sorry it's taking a minute, yeah.
Okay, do we wanna put, did you figure out when you wanna put that bridge discussion on the agenda?
I've been waiting to hear back from the state about the questions I had for them, and I
Okay,
haven't heard back from them, but assuming I do, I can try to put it on the agenda for the first meeting in April if you want. We are gonna have an extra week here, between the meetings, so, I think that's probably plenty of time, assuming I get some answers for the questions that I had, so I can put it on the agenda for the next meeting. Or I could ask them to, the other thing is that we could, I don't know if there's any further, correspondence we need to have with them, if I could invite one of them to come to the meeting to discuss it, or.
yeah, find out what they think and
Okay,
we'll get that set up.
okay,
Can the historical society,
yeah, I'm looped in on that, absolutely, yeah. One other, thing, since Christian's here, I'm remembering that, the other thing that should be done on the swamp road is that I was gonna reach out to Barnard and Jarvis and see if they might help us do a survey on that, if we are gonna do that project and establish a new turnaround down there, because we would, I think we need to do that, in order to, because we're resurveying a highway from class 3 to class 4 to class 3.
Okay.
And the current highway is class 4 to a certain point, and then or it's technically class 4 all the way to Duffy
Yeah,
Hill.
I was gonna say,
But we're not gonna make it go to Duffy Hill, so I think the idea is
Are
to
you gonna just?
reclassify to a certain point and then discontinue it to a trail probably for the rest of, I'm not sure if we'd rather do it to a trail or discontinue it altogether. Maybe just discontinue it altogether.
I was wondering if that would ever be done all the way through, because then I could cut through.
Yeah, I'm not, it'd take a lot of work to bring that road up to,
Yeah.
so, anyway, I was just, I'd like to, because if we're gonna do that, then we need to, it would be good, I think it'd be good to have a new survey done of that portion, so that it's defined, if we're gonna do a reclassification, especially if we're gonna because we need to hold a hearing with the local, residents there, and particularly if we determine that the town needs to change the course of the road, I don't think we do, but if there is any road land that needs to be taken from one side or the other, we would need to work that out, when we have the hearing, so, but also our plan was to hold that hearing in better weather, so,
yeah,
I thought, I need to get started by contacting them, see if we can get that survey done and then schedule a hearing probably in May or something like that.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's something we could
Yeah.
do for you.
does that trail stay all in the town?
If we maintain it as, if we discontinue it to a legal trail, it stays a public right of way that the town could in theory upgrade later, but
I think the town has to maintain it one season out of the year.
if it's
Not a trail.
that's class 4.
That's class 4.
If it's a legal trail, it stays a public right of way, but you don't have any, the town does not have to maintain it.
Okay.
Specifically.
Bass Trail maybe,
Right, or, yeah, so.
we could find a way to connect that all the way back to King Road.
It's up to
It
them.
used
Well, I
to
don't have any way to snow it.
there used to be a bass trail through there, but it didn't follow that, it did umpire over by John Johnson's, but it didn't on the other end. And that isn't passable on the other end where it goes.
Right, so-
It's been rocks and trees growing up in it, and so,
Well, I figured we get at the hearing, we can hear from the local residents, and I'm assuming that they're not necessarily gonna have interest in that staying right away either, so. But, anyway, that's something we should discuss, in
Yep.
the future.
okay. Alright, if that's it, I'll take a motion to adjourn for the evening.
I'll make the motion.
I second that.
We're adjourned, Jared.